Message for all you liberals.
Can't handle the truth.
Back in the late 80s and 90s, early 90s, were trying to get financing. They couldn't. Somebody told them to go check with Donald Trump. So they come back and tell me they got a loan from Donald Trump.
And you ain't black.
A term loan. Show up with the interest and the principal, one check. But they had to go see him personally. They independently relate this tale that when they saw him, he said, "This is what you supposed to pay me? This our agreement?" And yeah. And then tore the check up, shook their hands, and congratulations.
It meant to us going to New York to meet Donald Trump was a celebration. We met at breakfast to go over raising enough money to save most of the farm. And so we were there for like a burning of the deed ceremony. And so there was a picture of my mom and Donald and another man from Atlanta that was burning the deed of the debt. I think the biggest thing that I could say about him is most people haven't seen that he does have that kind side to him.
Yes.
I've been waiting a very long time to ask this.
This sounds like trouble.
And I just want to know if the story is true or not. You were traveling to Atlantic City, and your limo broke down. Husband and wife pulled up behind, and the husband basically said, "I'm going to help him out." So he helped out the limousine, and a week later, the husband and wife received the deed to their house paid off. Was that a true story?
It's true. It's true.
It's awesome.
I had one of the 13 Gold Star families from Afghanistan. They come to see me and they're upset. They're in my office. I call your father. He's no longer president. He's playing golf. He's spending all the time with them, right? And they're saying, the government wanted to put somewhere where we're paying ourselves, and we went to the Trump Hotel. At the end, he goes, "Kevin, wait, I want to talk to you." He gets on the phone with me, and this is what he says. "I'm going to go call the manager. You tell them I'm picking up their tab." He didn't want anybody to know. He didn't put it on Truth. He didn't put a tweet. He told me privately, and he pays for it. And that's the thing no one sees about him. And we never...
He gave you a $10,000 check?
Yeah. He ended up, after I met him, it was just, so I started walking in the white tent, and they all started clapping, and I felt God's presence in there. I really did. And, and Donald Trump is the most genuine, humble, caring person I've ever met in my life. And I owe everything to him. He did a lot for my dad, who's battling cancer, and I don't ever know how to repay him. But
what did he do for your dad?
He turned around and said, "Take care of him." And then he leaned over and said, "Write him a check for $10,000."
In 2008, singer and actress Jennifer Hudson's world was turned upside down when her mother, brother, and nephew were all tragically murdered at their home in Chicago. In another unexpected gesture of kindness, Trump reached out to the grief-stricken Hudson and offered to house her and her relatives at Trump Tower in Chicago for free. At the time, People magazine praised Trump for his heart of gold.
That guy's been a friend of mine for 20 years. He's one of the most stand-up, solid dudes that I've ever met in my life. If he gives you his word, done. These arenas didn't want to sit there. They're like, "Whoa, we don't want this stuff in our arena." So we had a hard time finding venues. And Trump literally called us. Everything that happened to me in my career from there on out, he would pick up the phone and congratulate me.
In 1988, a Jewish family were desperate to find help for their critically ill son, who was just 3 years old and needed a flight from Los Angeles to New York for emergency treatment. But all the commercial airlines refused to fly their son because he needed to travel with several large pieces of medical equipment. Running out of hope, they reached out to Donald Trump, who they said didn't even hesitate and agreed to have his private jet fly the family and their sick son to New York for treatment. The boy's father said, quote, "Donald Trump is a miracle, just a miracle."
That time, Donald Trump saved the NYC Veterans Day Parade. So let's rewind the tape to 1995. New York City, once the beating heart of the world, is flat broke, and so is the Veterans Day Parade. I mean, it's a disgrace. Our boys, who risked their lives for our freedom, can't even get a decent parade in their honor. But in comes Donald J. Trump, not President Trump. Not yet, just businessman Trump. He sees what's going down and he says, "Not on my watch." He pulls out his checkbook and writes a fat one. I'm talking $200,000 to help save the parade. But he doesn't stop there. Oh no. He goes to his rich friends, he goes to the big businesses in New York, and he says, "You're going to chip in too. You're going to show some respect for our veterans."
The next year, in 2014, U.S. Marine Corps Sergeant Andrew Timoresi was arrested in Mexico and held for 7 months after he accidentally brought firearms across the border. Trump followed the case, and when Andrew was finally released and returned to the United States, Trump reached out and sent him a check for $25,000, thanking him for his service and bravery.
Trump is the man. Trump is the man. He has this fan base, he has his supporters, and they're going to stick with him to the end. I never had a bad moment with him.
You've never had a bad moment?
No,
Yeah.
no.
Did you?
It was just a great relationship.
But that's not the first or last time Donald Trump stood up to help America's veterans. In 2015, then presidential hopeful Trump stepped in to help Army veteran Todd Landon, who was critically wounded in an IED attack in Iraq back in 2006. Trump was holding a rally in Iowa and came down off the stage to speak with Landon, who told him about all the problems he was having getting proper care with the VA, which he said was rife with problems. Trump vowed to help Landon out, intervened with the VA on his behalf directly, and the very next day, Landon said the VA contacted him and shortly after approved compensation payments for his injuries. Trump took it a step further after he was elected president and reversing nearly a decade of neglect from Obama. Trump forgave the student debts of nearly 50,000 permanently disabled veterans. In 2017, President Trump heard that the family of Army Corporal Dylan Baldridge was struggling after their son was killed in Afghanistan. Vowing his support for the family, President Trump personally sent them a check for $25,000 and instructed his staff to create an online fundraising page to help the family out. These are the stories.
They contacted Mr. Trump over the phone, and he came down here. Instead of him evicting me off the property, he said that I can stay. And it's been 8 years I've been here. Not only did he not evict me off the property, he makes sure that I get 3 meals a day, my room service, and that I get a delivery of fresh flowers every week.
In those days in the hospital, I received from you a handwritten letter that said, "To the bravest woman I know." And
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
you,
Such a wonderful, beautiful woman. I mean, just an amazing woman. And are you coming along okay?
no, sir, but that's okay, because I'm here right now to thank you in person, and that was my biggest dream. And I wanted to thank you because through you and your organizations, my son, who is Mexican American, 7 years old, through your organizations and just being able to stand on that stage with you back in 2005, the outpouring of love that...
When the towers fell and hearts all across America shattered, our big man Trump was right there in the thick of it. Yeah, you heard it right. So picture this: New York City, rubble and dust, people crying, emergency workers scrambling. It's chaos, pure chaos. But there's Trump, right? He's no firefighter, he's no paramedic, but the man's got a heart bigger than his tower. He sees the pain, the suffering, and he says, "F this, I'm not standing by." So what does he do? He gets involved in various charitable efforts. He's opening up his wallet, pouring out resources, all to help heal the city. That player goes to China with his buddies, gets arrested for shoplifting. Dumb move, right? So they're in deep halfway around the world, and who steps up to bat for them? You guessed it, the Don. Trump gets on the phone with President Xi, works out a deal, and gets those boys on a plane back to the USA. But Trump saw a good cause, and he backed it. He said to Jesse, "Here, take this space. Do your thing. Help the people." And that's exactly what Jesse did.